Over the years, I've discussed numerous cases involving encounters with men in black, a shadowy group of individuals who exist, seemingly, to silence witnesses to the paranormal. In some instances, their appearance seems to defy logic, as nothing paranormal was experienced by the witness, yet they appear anyway, and their appearance becomes the paranormal experience. In 1978, a man named Derek C. claims that he encountered a man in black on 2 separate occasions in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. At the time, he recalled that he had to pick up some socks for work. Derek and his wife pulled into the parking lot of an army surplus store. As he was climbing out of his truck, he noticed a strange-looking fellow walking up the steps to the entrance of the store. I noticed because he was walking almost like as if he was a soldier, sort of marching. No one does that. He reached for the handle of the door to the store and pulled away, suddenly, just before he would have touched it. About turned and marched back down the steps. At the time, Derek was interested in the UFO topic and had read numerous books on the subject. He was familiar with the MIB phenomenon. The man was dressed in old-fashioned clothing and a 1950s-era fedora, similar to how MIB were said to look. After watching his bizarre behavior and noting how he was dressed, Derek commented to his wife that he thought the man was an MIB. Brushing it off, Derek headed into the store and picked up some socks. From there, they headed over to McDonald's to grab some food. The restaurant was newly constructed and next to a field. As they pulled up, Derek and his wife observed the same man walking into the building. To my surprise, there was that guy again, and again he was marching up the steps to the door. He did the same bloody thing, reached for the handle and suddenly about turned and marched back down the steps. This time it shocked me because he seemed to walk straight for the truck. At this point, Derek claims the strange man veered to the left and began walking into the field, which headed toward the number 1 highway, Trans-Canada Highway. He noted that there was an airlines hotel way across on the other side of the field. This is when things got really weird. My wife and I watched as he walked into the darkness of the field. Once he was in the darkness, he began walking very erratically, almost as if he was drunk, but different. He became almost completely hunched over, flailing with his arms, and walking very strangely as if he was struggling. Strange experience. There are numerous accounts of MIBs acting strangely. This involves being unable to eat or walk properly. This account from Canada does seem to line up with so many other reports. On February 15, 2012, a man named Mike, no last name was provided, had entered a Starbucks in Hillsboro, Oregon, where he ran into an old friend. He recalls that they had a nice conversation, and then his friend left. Mike elected to stay and read his book. That's when he spotted a strange figure enter the restaurant. I was reading a book and I just look over and there's this guy walking out the door of Starbucks. He looks like he's about 6'2". I'm only catching this from the profile. I didn't see him head on. 6'2". He looked like he weighed about between 135 and 140 pounds. He had a black coat on that went all the way from his neck down to below his ankles. And he had a black hat on. His skin, you know what matte white color looks like, right? Really bright matte white, no gloss, just kind of matted down. I caught him. All I saw was in profile, okay? White, like there was no red blood cells. And he had white fuzz on his face. And he wore this black hat, a fedora like out of the 40s or 50s or something like that. At this point, according to the witness, things took an even stranger turn. Here's the thing that wiped me out about him. I can remember things pretty well. He went in and bought a cup of coffee. He walked out the door, and as he's walking up the street, and instead of holding the coffee like normally you would, like in close to your body or something like that, he was holding it out in front of him, and it looked like, and honest to God, I'm not lying to you, man, it looked like the coffee was dragging him along. It was the most doggone thing. I've never seen anybody carry a cup of coffee like that, you know? It was just so strange. This is but another account of an MIB acting and moving strangely. In June 1950, near Kingman, Arizona, exactly 1 mile from where a disc-shaped object crashed on May 24, 1953, around the Hualapai Mountain, another disc-like object was also observed to crash. Townsfolk from Kingman, as well as forestry workers and National Guardsmen, went to the mountain to help with a fire, apparently the result of the crashed object. While fighting the fire, a National Guard captain came upon 3, quote, strange-looking men in the woods, one of whom was severely burned. The other 2 were also apparently injured, but not as badly. The captain assisted the 2 individuals in loading the 3rd individual into the back of a truck, while the other 2 got into the cab with him. He proceeded to drive to the Kingman Hospital. As he pulled up to the front of the building, he observed another strange-looking man standing at the door of an ambulance just outside the entrance to the hospital. One of the individuals in the cab with him said, "That looks like our ambulance." The captain thought the whole thing was suspicious and exited the truck. At this point, the captain noted that he began to feel strange, like he was, quote, inebriated. He walked over to the door of the ambulance. The man had gotten inside by then. He asked him, "Who are you?" The man replied simply, "I'm the ambulance driver." There was another strange-looking man sitting in the passenger seat, and the captain asked him, "Who are you?" That man replied, "I'm the intern, and I take care of people when they are in the ambulance." For some reason, the captain accepted this explanation, and he assisted the men in loading up the burned man into the ambulance. The other 2 individuals also got into the ambulance, and all 5 drove away from the hospital. The nearest hospital was in Las Vegas, 125 miles away, so it made no sense that they would drive away from the hospital, but that is what happened. The sheriff, Frank Porter, apparently arrived minutes later, screeching into the parking lot. He asked the captain, "Did you just bring 3 men down off the mountain?" The captain replied, "Yeah, they just went that way in the ambulance." Porter was gobsmacked. He could not understand what the captain was talking about. "Why did they leave the hospital?" he asked. The captain had no idea. Porter proceeded to put out an APB and had the town sealed off, but the ambulance and the men were never found. It was as if they had vanished off the face of the earth. Curiously, the captain, as well as other people present outside the hospital that day, had trouble recalling what kind of vehicle it was. They even had trouble remembering if it was even an ambulance at all.